He was
Ready?
before he jumped out of it.
Okay.
Same thing though. He got.
All right, good evening, everyone. It is great to see everyone tonight. Thank you so much for being here. We love having a full house of kids here. Adults, okay, we're glad you're here too, but of kids here for sure. I'll start our meeting today, as always, by reading our mission statement. New Philadelphia City Schools will provide all students the opportunity to achieve their highest potential, to become educated, self-sufficient, and responsible citizens. We are committed to providing every student a diverse, quality education within a safe and secure environment through a dedicated, innovative, and highly qualified staff in partnership with parents and the community at large.
Excuse me, Mr. McMahon? Maybe you can speak to why the tables are set up the way they are and encourage our friends this evening to come and have a chance to sit at the round tables in the near future.
I think that's a great job.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Absolutely.
Maybe Mrs. Wentworth could do it.
I would be happy to speak to that. Our tables are set up this way because they help to facilitate the conversation during our community meetings that we're having regarding master facilities planning. And we really encourage everyone and anyone to come and participate in those meetings and let your opinions be heard, because we're trying to decide what is the best option for our facilities going forward. Our buildings right now are an average of 80 years old. Seems like every day I talk to the maintenance supervisor and he tells me about another roof that's leaking or another pipe that's collapsed. And it's just not the best place to educate the students of New Philadelphia. So we're trying to figure out what is the best option, and we need community input to do that. So encourage all of you to come back next Thursday as our next meeting, November 30th at 6:30 right here. Hour and a half, and you will be done and able to go back home. But in the meantime, you have shared your opinion and helped to plan for the future of New Philadelphia.
Very good. Well done. Good job. Okay, anything else, Mr. France?
No, that's all I have.
Okay, if you all stand with us, and I'll have the kids, if you would, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Go ahead.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Great job. Have roll call, please.
Mr. France?
Present.
Dr. Fuller? Mr. Galantine? Mr. McMath?
Here.
Mr. Weaver?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Do I have a recommendation to approve the agenda of the regular Board of Education meeting?
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. Galantine, 2.
Could I ask to have Mr. Andreg's resignation removed for separate consideration, please? For item 8.
Yes.
Thank you.
At the end. Okay. All right, do I have a recommendation with the change?
Move.
Okay, same. Anything else? Call the roll.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Galantine?
Yes.
Mr. McMath?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting dated October 9th, 2023?
So moved.
Mr. Fuller, Mr. Weaver, and a second?
Second.
Any additions or corrections? Call the roll.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Galantine?
Yes.
Mr. McMath?
Yes.
Motion carries.
At this time, we'd just like to have a recognition, if we could. Words cannot express the tremendous grief that Tuskegee Valley Schools, Buckeye Career Center, and so many more are experiencing over the tragic accident of November 14th. As we mourn the tragic loss of lives, our thoughts and prayers continue for those with injuries both physically and emotionally. Our deepest sympathies go out to the families, friends, coworkers, and classmates that lost a loved one. We commend the heroic actions and courage of the rescue workers, health workers, volunteers, and officials. And at this time, we'd like to ask everyone to stand and stand with us silently for a moment of silent reflection and respect. Thank you. You may be seated. All right, every month we like to highlight some of the things that are going on around our district. And we typically do that by the different buildings. And this month we have Miss Reed here with Central Elementary. Turn it over to you.
Oh, fifth graders.
Yes.
Getting organized. Very important.
Yes.
All right. We just want to thank the board for having us here tonight. One thing we really stress at Central Elementary is what a great community we live in. And we talk about how when you live in a great community, it's important to do things to give back to your community, to be that giving citizen. So tonight we brought some of the members, most of the members, our student leadership team at Central, and they wanted to tell you about something they did to give back to the community.
Hi, my name is Laura Rotino, and I'm president of Student Leadership Team. I represent Ms. Miller's homeroom. The Student Leadership Team is composed of 2 students from each homeroom that were chosen by their homeroom teachers based on their leadership skills in the classroom. Hi, my name is Riley Graham. I represent Mr. Rusinger's class, and we meet about twice a month.
Hi, I'm Mackenzie Neal, and I represent Ms. Stoneman's class. We have a business meeting first run by our president. We always have a leadership activity or after each business meeting.
Hi, my name is Lucy Marshall. I'm vice president of the Student Leadership Team, and I represent Mrs. Walker's class. Our job is to help our community, and such as blessings in a backpack, recycling, and comforting a new student at our school.
My name is Titan Glass, and I represent Ms. Stoneman's homeroom. We also have some community service projects that we do. At the beginning of the year, Ms. Weed came to us with an immediate need for the school.
Hello, I'm Pearson Ames from Mrs. Pipe's class. This is our this is our friend Officer Miller and his canine Pablo. They're in my corner. The New Philadelphia Police Department's canine units need donations. Hello, I'm historian Addison McMillan, and I represent Miss Bird's class. Because of the area's growing narcotics epidemic, another canine unit was added.
Hi,
I am Mason Cavalier. I represent Ms. Hutchison's class. And it costs a lot of money to train both the officer and the dog. It also costs money for equipment, food, and upkeep on the K-9 specific police car.
Hello, my name is Anna, and I represent the K-9 class. The K-9 unit and its expenses are funded by donation.
I am Lake Reed from Miss Berger's class, and these units serve New Philadelphia, but they also serve area villages and municipalities when they are gone.
Hi, I'm Abigail Sunheimer and I represent Mrs. Hutchison's class. As the student leadership team, we came up with a fundraiser for the K-9 unit. We sold paw print rubber band bracelets, paw print notepads, and paw print glasses for $1 each during our recess period time for an entire week.
Hi, my name is Leigh Gonzalez and I represent Mrs. Miller's class. We kicked off our fundraiser by having Officer Miller and his K-9 pupil come to Central Elementary and give us some information about the unit and show us Pablo. Officer Miller brought another police officer with him and did some pretty quick demonstrations and answered a lot of questions we had.
I am Aubrey Harding, and I represent Ms. Jurkovich's class. We were able to raise $226.75 for Officer Miller and Pablo. We would now like to present him with our donation.
Hello, I'm Genevieve Miller. I represent Mrs. Walker's class. Thank you, Officer Miller and Pablo, for all you do to keep our communities.
Hello, my name is Peyton Rigger. I am Secretary of Student Leadership Team, and I represent Mrs. Pipe's class. If anyone else would like to donate to the K-9 unit, we have some flyers we made to help them out.
Thank you, Board of Education, for your time.
Thank you.
I also wanted to point out that some of the members of the leadership team came to me on their own for the Tustin Valley families, and they wanted to do a fundraiser tomorrow. So tomorrow we're having Hack Day to earn money for them as well. So
Oh, nice.
I'll just give you.
Well done. Thank you. Well done, kids. Thanks so much for coming. Thank you for coming. Pablo, thank you.
The checks over there. Can't walk over, I don't want to walk.
Thank you, Mrs. Pipes and Miss Reed. Thank you. At this time, you are welcome to stay for the rest of our meeting if you'd like, but you are also welcome to leave if you want. Thank you for coming, everyone.
Thank you.
Great job.
The lady to get in the picture, I won't get that dog.
Oh, yeah, but.
Beautiful.
Yeah. No kidding.
Hey, how are you?
Thank you. Thanks for
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for coming.
Mrs. Pipes, can we keep these and kind of put them up there?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Nice job.
Or relatives.
No, I'm just messing with him. I figured he wasn't just pushing his feet over. I got that seat. Have a good Thanksgiving, everybody. Thank you.
Thanksgiving. Have a good night, guys.
Holy cow.
That was classic, Todd.
That's
Classic.
She gives me a hard time all the time.
Participation. I think so.
Participation, we have one person, this Alicia Varnes. Just want to remind you quick of our public participation policy. We have 5 minutes for each participant that is signed up. So go ahead.
So I am a former Philly paraprofessional aide, and I recently resigned, but I wanted to come and speak to you tonight because I feel like I need to advocate for the kids that I worked with at Philly. They're top priority for me, no matter where I'm at, and I know that kids with special needs need consistency, and I feel like they're not getting that. Mostly because we have such a revolving door in our school district. And I think that if you hire full-time aides, you have all kinds of aides that are willing to work those full-time hours, and you only want to offer part-time, no benefits, no nothing, and that's hard. That's a hard job, and I feel like they're very deserving. We're all very deserving of that. We're the only school in Tuscarawas County that I'm aware of that does not offer full-time and benefits to their aides. And so in the middle school setting, where I was most recently at Welty, I start out the morning with those kids, but they're passed through 2, 3, 4 aides throughout the day. That's not very good consistency for your kids. On the inside, I've been told that the union is to blame, but I feel like changes can come from you folks, or I hope that they could come from you folks or the new folks coming in, just because those, you're here for the kids. That's who you're working for. That's who you're working with. So I just wanted to come and give an inside view. The only reason why I even quit my job here is because I have a full-time job at Starlight with benefits. Otherwise, I would have never looked anywhere else. I loved working for Philly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Felicia. Appreciate it. All right, treasurer's report.
Okay, I need to start off with the 5-year forecast. She's presenting it behind you. I don't know if you guys want to move so you can see. There's a whole new look back behind you because we have the new projector. So the big thing with this forecast is we had our new House Bill 33 was enacted in July, and they updated our formula funding to 2022 base costs. Prior to this, it was frozen at 2019 numbers. So actually, excuse me, that was 2018 numbers. So we took a jump. However,
I'm sorry, what'd you say, 2022?
2022, it was increased to 2022. Yes. However, the one thing to keep in mind with state aid is it relies on our local funding as well. So our property taxes are considered when we get our money from the state. Currently, New Philly is 50-50 to the penny of general tax to income tax. So when we talk about the $8,000 we get per student, we actually get $8,139 in 2024. It's a 50-50 split between our real estate taxes and our state aid. The line items I'm talking, the state aid is at line item 1.035. So what you see is the first 3 years are actual years, and going from 23 to 24, you see an increase of almost $1 million. And that's directly due to that House bill. And you'll see it increasing each year thereafter because we now have a phase-in, so it'll be fully phased in by 2026. I've also planned for an increase of students, but my increase of students is only about 11 students a year at this point because during COVID, we lost some students. So our unrestricted state grants, that's what we call our state funding, is increasing. However, I just want everybody to understand that variable in there is we only get 50% of that aid. Because if you looked at the full formula, it would be $22 million. But half of that has to come from real estate taxes. The next item I want to talk about is our real estate taxes. So I kind of jumped around, so I'm going to take you clear to the top of the page. Real estate, as everybody knows, our assessed values have increased at an enormous rate the last few years. So we are halfway through our triennial update for real estate taxes. So at this point, we can almost plan what we're gonna have for a triennial update in fiscal year 25. I had a long discussion with Larry Lindbergh about what we should plan for the district. And in 2025, he's expecting to see an additional 15% increase in our assessed values, just based on what property values are today. So when you look at the forecast, that increase is a half-year increase on 2025. The full increase is reflected in 2026 because we collect, the county is on a calendar year and the school district is on a fiscal year. So when they give us increases like that, we realize the full value of that increase the following year, which would be 2026. Also, the other thing is we just passed our levy. And so I have the levy that we just passed included in here as well. And with regard to revenues, you'll notice our total revenues for 2024 is going to $34,399,000, and in 2023 we're $32,760,000. I want to move on down to expenses now. On line number 3.01, personal services, that's salaries. So our salaries in 2024 at $20 million is the negotiated increase on our certified people at 2.75%. And there was a negotiated increase for classified staff at 3%. Those salaries are reflected in that $20 million number. We also had, because we had some students that were moved to Starlight through the ESC program, and I can't think of the name of the program right now, it left me.
Bridges.
What's it called?
The Bridges, right?
The Bridges program. We were able to have a cost savings in salaries of 4 aides because we didn't need those aides in classrooms. However, our purchase services increased over $300,000 for that Bridges program. And that program is taking care of our, some of our really special needs students that are behavior students that need some additional help. Employees, retirement and insurance benefits. This year we had a 6.9% increase in our premiums. In 2025, I'm planning for an additional 6.9% increase in premiums. And then thereafter, I have an 8% increase in premiums because it's too far out to really forecast what is going to happen. And
They've been saying those forecasts are gonna
Greatly increase, right, for the insurance?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's why I'm saying 8%. Actually, that may be conservative because what they've talked about is between 8 and 11. However, if you look at our averages, we've never received an 11% increase. Also, our insurance company does an evaluation of everybody in the consortium, and we are always one of the top schools in the consortium. So our rates usually don't increase like other school districts do. For supplies and
Hey, Julie, just a quick question on that. So within the consortium, are you saying that different districts would get different premium increases
yes,
based on
there are
history and
three-
performance?
there's 3 models.
Okay,
You have a low model, a moderate model, and a high model. And it's all based on your claims rates.
okay,
So they take an average of rates for, I believe it's 3 years, and then they take your current claims rate.
Okay.
And they do a formula, and we always are on the side of, you have to be at 80%. And we're always right around 81%.
yeah, gotcha, okay,
We haven't had any, now that could all change if you
Sure.
have a major claim.
yeah, sure.
How many districts are on the consortium?
I'm so sorry, I don't know the answer to that. I know that Aurora is larger than us, and we're the second largest.
So like 50, 20?
I would say there's probably about 35.
But the benefits of being in the consortium help from a group standpoint, that if we were to have a claims year, it's not like we would manage this better or more cost effectively by going alone.
Right.
And I'm assuming,
Because the consortium has so many lives in it
yep,
that they can purchase the premiums at a lower rate.
yeah,
If we were trying to do it, we would be covering about 400 lives.
Yeah.
It would cost us a lot more money.
yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, thanks.
For supplies and materials, keep in mind Chromebooks got moved to supplies and materials a couple years ago, largely due to the feds because they said they are an expendable item now. They're not, they're more like a workbook because of the cost of them. So they moved from capital outlay to supplies and materials. So in supplies and materials, we've planned for $300,000 a year for Chromebooks. That actually I expect to increase, and I'm hoping we can make it until 2026 before we experience an increase. Then we also have planned in 24 and 25, $400,000 in curriculum each year. 26 through 28, we have $430,000 in curriculum. We're increasing that a bit. This year, because of the science of reading, we aren't purchasing our curriculum till late in the year. So depending on how that works out, 24 to 25 may have to balance itself out. We may be paying for some of those expenditures in 25 that we would normally pay in 24. And then on to capital outlay. Capital outlay, you'll notice in 2024, I've planned for about $150,000. Couple reasons for that. The biggest one is we are not buying 2 buses this year because in 2023, we purchased 2 stock buses in anticipation of the major price increase. Our buses went from about $98,000 to $120,000 this year. So we tried to get ahead of that and bought the 2 buses last year. And I think that's pretty much it. If you scroll to the bottom,
Julie, just, I'm sorry, before you move on from the capital outlay, so it's gonna be 150 this year, 149. It jumps to 519 and it's the same number forecasted for every year. What is that?
2 buses, or 1 bus per year. I'm sorry, we buy 2 buses a year, 1 bus out of the general fund, so that's 120,000.
Okay.
And we have 70,000 planned for tech updates.
Okay,
And then there are minor little adjustments there for like building projects and things like that.
okay,
I didn't put a lot in building projects in 2024 just because we've just experienced all these projects with the HVAC, all the ESSER items that we
okay, okay, thanks.
So one thing I do want you to note, if you remember when I gave the forecast in May, at the 5th year out, if you could scroll all the way down, please. The 5th year out, we were negative 3.2 million. With all the new funding, we are now at a positive 1.8 million. So we've really turned a corner with our new funding. Also, if you look at line 11.02, in 2028, our 10-year emergency levy will have to go back on the ballot, and that's what you'll see is that half year of that emergency levy. Do you have other questions for me?
How do you forecast out enrollment projections?
So enrollment projections, what we do is we sit and we take an average of what we've added each year. And then we look at our preschool, because preschool is typically going to become kindergarten. And we look at our graduating students going out. So it's kind of a formula of thinking, okay, here's where we were at the end of last year. These people graduated, here's my preschool students. We don't capture all those preschool students usually. But our class size is about the same. I think our class size in kindergarten is what, 200?
A little more than.
Yeah. So it's kind of a formula, sitting down and looking at.
Yeah.
Other questions?
Just, I do, on the state funding piece of that and what's forecasted, is there any opportunity that legislation changes that would affect that? Because I think at the end of the day, you can sure picture the expense piece of this continues to just rise inflationary, right? I mean, we have folks that need pay increases, that we need, insurance goes up, all these things continue to go up. Biggest difference is the additional state funding and on the revenue side. So I guess question is there any likelihood, is this solid for the next 5 years? Could this change? How do we view that?
In House Bill 33, they adopted, they made the base funding, the base cost funding permanent. But
Okay.
there are pieces of it that are not permanent.
Okay.
So that is restricted funding.
Okay,
So the bulk of those calculations are permanent in legislation.
okay,
Now, as always, the governor can change our funding each biennium budget, so it could change, but I've planned for it to remain the way it is right now.
okay. Yeah, because it's pretty significant. If you picture, we wouldn't be different than a lot of school districts in that you're typically looking at a deficit 5 years out from a cash standpoint, right? So if we were going to be negative 3 million and now we're on the plus side, there's a lot of opportunity to do more and to try to fund resource initiatives or things that we think are important. It just seems like there's from a stability standpoint, there's a lot more stability here than what might typically be in the forecast.
Absolutely, and it pushes out when I expect it to be on the ballot money.
For sure.
Because I thought we would be on the ballot of 27, 28. We're not gonna have to do that, right?
Yeah, it's great.
The last time we asked for new money was when?
2014.
14.
I think it passed, Amy will know this because she was here, 3 votes.
I think it ended up being 6, didn't it?
It was very close.
Yeah.
6? Now I want to say 4. I don't know. It was under 10.
Yeah.
Every vote counts. Yeah. Any other questions? You said something that made me think of something. In my forecast, I have planned for the additional resource officer that's going to begin in January. And we also have the pre-bond architect. I planned for the pre-bond architect in 24 and 25, so I figured we'd probably still be paying them next fall.
Okay.
It sounds right as per schedule.
Other questions? No?
Thank you.
Thanks, Julie.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, with that said, I have a long list of items. I have the October financial statement, key indicator, cash flow report, check register, and bank reconciliation, all in your folder, and everything is in balance. I have a contract for Soliant. including addendums, and this is for substitute services for special ed teacher that will be out. I have a contract for principal coaching services with the ECOESC and Starlight Bridges Services contract. I'm sorry, that's the contract. I was trying to come up with the name of it earlier, with the ECOESC in the amount of $200 per day for those students on an as-needed basis. We have Bridges Excavating. This is the trench drain at the new bus garage, which is completed. And then a second Bridges Excavating for a drop-off lane at York Elementary. I think in your folder, I have the map to show how they're gonna set that up.
Do we have any timeline on that yet, that you've heard?
They are supposed to start next week.
Great.
I have the Auditor Estate amended engagement letter for $15,750. That's in total, that's not just the amended piece. And Hill International invoice for $16,000. This is the bus that we blew an engine out, we had to fix. Gardner.
That's an older bus, right?
Bus 10.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, okay,
I believe it was 2014.
great.
Gardner contract for the boiler inspections in the amount of $12,800. And Stutzman's for the South Side soccer field at the South School for $11,293. We have multiple donations for the West Accelerated Reader Program and a donation from the New Philly Youth Soccer Association, and that's directly for that South Elementary soccer field. I have the records retention schedule, which hasn't been updated since, I believe, 2010. So the committee met and we reviewed everything, and I have the updated records retention schedule. Once it's done being voted on here tonight, it will go to the Auditor Estate, and it goes to, shoot, I can't think of the name of the place.
At the Historical Society?
Well, but they don't call themselves the Historical Society anymore. So,
Something like that.
yes.
Whatever they call themselves now, that's
Yeah.
what it is, yes.
Then I have FMLA for Sarah Hutchinson. I need to convert the advance we did on 213 to a transfer and make it a permanent transfer. And the reason for that is because our PI fund got low, and honestly, we've had some things come up like the York the York lane that we need to do, the bus, the engine that blew in the bus and things like that. I need to approve the amended appropriations for $10,000. That's just an increase to athletics. And transfer from the general fund to summer school, which we do every year, in the amount of $89,906.25. And then I'm asking for approval of the 5-year forecast as presented.
So moved.
A second?
I'll second.
Mr. Gallatin. Any additional questions or anything, Treasurer?
Yeah, on letter N, the South School soccer, is that fixing of that, or is that normal fixing, or is that, I know we've had some of the other soccer fields some problems being used during, when it's raining or right after rain and
That's
tearing it up.
They use that for soccer field down there, right at the South School, and it became dangerous to students. So we felt like we needed to do this, and it hasn't been done in the past. So going forward, we did discuss maintaining it.
But I think to what Denny's question, they've taken the extra steps of putting something, you've probably noticed, fencing up around it to try to protect it and give, there's been attempts to make it right in the past, but we never, that I can recall, cordoned it off to where that people shouldn't be on there and tearing up a fresh repair. Hopefully, I think that I'm saying this correctly from the facilities committee standpoint, putting the fencing up will keep folks off of it and give it this fall and early spring to really take hold and get some longevity out of the upkeep.
Right. And perhaps even sign, you can't keep people off, but maybe
No.
sign, please do not use during the rain or right after, you know what I'm saying? Because that tears it up really fast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I want it used, I want the community to use it, but
Got to have a chance to root in.
thank you,
It's never going to last.
thank you.
And I do want to say a special thanks to New Philadelphia Youth Soccer Association for partnering with us on that, making sure that that got done. That was a big help.
Well, and I should let you know, when we have donations, we send thank you notes on the board's behalf.
Good, thank
So
you.
they'll get a thank you note.
Anything else, gang? Call the roll.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Galantine?
Yes.
Mr. McMath?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
We have a number of personnel issues. Remember, we did remove item Harry Andrag under resignations, but I would ask you to approve the other resignations as listed. Then we are following that with some hires, including an intervention specialist that is going to start with us and finish the school year then with us, as well as a couple more daily subs that will be working in the district each day. We have some classified people that we are adding to us, paraprofessionals and bus aide and a food service worker. And then quite a few supplemental contracts, substitutes, teachers' aide, secretaries, and of course, a nice list of volunteers, both classroom and athletics, who we really appreciate and contribute so much to our school district. So I'd like to ask a motion to approve that as amended.
I'll move. Second?
Second.
Are there any questions?
Call the roll.
Mr. McMath?
Yes.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Galantine?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, now I would like to ask that you approve the resignation of Harry Andrag, Intervention Specialist, effective October 27th, 2023.
Do I have a motion to accept that resignation?
So moved.
Mr. Weaver, and a second?
I'll second it.
I think that my opposition to accepting resignations from the certified staff after the school year's begun is fairly well documented. I just don't think that's in the best interest of students. And I can't, in my mind, convince myself to accept the resignation after the school year started from a certified staffer.
Any other thoughts?
I think Dave said very well. I agree with you, sir.
Call the roll.
Well, I guess just from a practical standpoint, if we don't accept a resignation, then the alternative is,
And the alternative is to go through a termination process. For Mr. Andrag, he has ceased working for us, so he's not currently fulfilling his contract, and we need to speak with our attorney about starting that termination process,
okay.
which has the potential to be fairly lengthy and costly.
And I know you, because it's personal, you don't want to talk about reason. He's not willing to leave because of illness or offered a job for $12 million somewhere else or something.
No, he just decided that he no longer wanted to work for us.
So end result would be similar.
Correct.
Correct.
yeah, okay. I just wanted to clarify. Yep.
Any other questions?
I'm good. Thank you.
Call the roll.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mr. Galantine?
Yes.
Mr. France?
No.
And Mr. McMath? Motion carries.
Thank you. Committee representative report.
Please note that Business Advisory Council information and minutes are linked and available on the ECO ESC website, whom we partner with for that committee.
Any committee reports?
Here's one from Quaker Foundation. Yes, we, Jeff was heading that committee up, but we approved classroom grants for teachers, I think at the last meeting. So it's always a generous part of what the foundation does, but I think there were over 50, I don't have the number offhand, over 50 applications, which I think they were going to be funded to the degree of about $20,000. Which is great. So some things were kind of combined together. There were some multiple requests of kind of a similar activity, but they're all going to be funded to some degree, and I wanted to pass that on. So it's a unique thing for a community to have an organization that supports like that, and hopefully it'll, with the application process, I mean, it's going for direct needs that teachers are applying for that help students in a variety of ways. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Quaker Foundation is a phenomenal organization. What they do for the students and for the teachers is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. That's cool. Any others? Excuse me. Assistant Superintendent's report.
All right, Ms. Church. You'll see QDA and QPA financial statements to approve. Last time we got together, talked to you about our report card. All right. Quick review, little quiz for you. Who can tell me what the main focus of our high school should be, or we talked about would be from our report card? Who has it? Who knows?
Graduation.
Graduation rate, right? So,
Well done.
actually, pull up the.
Mr. Weaver?
Class president.
Yeah, I'm done.
Class president.
All right, so you guys all had, okay. So Mr. Range, from the moment he was hired, I'm talking about day one, was ready to attack this, I want to call it a problem, but this challenge, right? This is something, 1-star, low graduation rate. One of the things that I'm really excited to present, he wanted to be here tonight, but they have National Honor Society at the high school, which obviously he needs to be at. We just purchased, one-time fee, this graduation tracking tool from the ESC. So this is a one-time fee, and this is the Excel document that we'll put all of our information into to help us generate a ton of great data as we track kids. So this is just a kind of a dummy one. We haven't actually started it yet. And once again, we get this from the ESC. We send the ESC all of our students from current 7th graders up to juniors. We're not doing this for our current seniors. 7th graders up to juniors, they enter in all the information for us. So our kids are going to be uploaded by them, by the ESC. You can see it starts out, their name, status, year entering. We have spots to mark if they're an EL student, an IEP student, they are on a 504, if they're gifted, all that great data. If you can scroll over right there, stop. So we start here with competency, right? State testing. Have they met their seals? Have they met their credits? Their tests, have they passed their ELA and their math tests? Possibly they've maybe met a military option. There's a bunch of different options to graduate. So as we put these students in, from year to year, our counselors, Mr. Range, Mr. Jarvis, they'll just update this year by year and just click, yes, yes. It says true, false. It's going to say yes or no for ours. Scroll. We got a spot for ACT scores, a spot for end of course state assessments. Go ahead and freeze there. So right there, it tells us American history, government. We're entering all their test information into this Excel spreadsheet. Keep scrolling. Right there, stop. There we go again. More test scores, data entered in. And let me state right now, the way this is tracked now, and it's nothing against what we've been doing, is there are 4 binders in the guidance office at the high school with all of this in printed form, Each kid has a section of a binder. And this information is entered into our progress book, our EMIS, that at some point, but not to this extent, okay? So we're entering our state test scores. Keep scrolling. Freeze. There we go with our career readiness. So this is a section where Mr. Range has started really pushing for our kids to do job-related graduation requirements, where they're observing things. We've talked about that previously, right? Our apprenticeship programs where they're visiting hotels and restaurants and learning about the hospitality environment. So we'll enter that information in this. Keep scrolling. This is not the most important piece for you. Here's our seals. Freeze. So these are all the different seals that our students can get. And I'm not going to go into explaining every one, but community service. They do 20 hours of community service over their 4 years. Check. That seal's done. Fine and performing arts. If you do 2 years of choir, band, steel drum, whatever you want, you get a seal for that. Student engagement seal, that has to do with students doing special projects. Military, if they enlist. So many options for us to do seals. We'll just go in and check yes, yes, yes. Go ahead, scroll. Boom, right here. We've got risk plan triggers. And we're gonna look at what the final product is of this document. Risk, we've got attendance issues. So we can go in and say, a student has attendance issues, right? They're missing a lot of school. Have they not passed their ELA test? We click yes or no. Math, have they not passed? Science, have they not passed? And then risk plan needed. All this math is gonna be done for us by this Microsoft Excel document. Scroll over. There's our work keys. This is a test they take for the apprenticeship program to demonstrate that they have the basic knowledge of how to fill out an application, how to get a resume together, those things on top of observing everything they have in the apprenticeship program. Scroll over. Credentials. These could be our Buckeye kids, right? They get those credentials. They get those, the electric, so many things they do at Buckeye. And our Buckeye counselors will have access to edit these things too. So they'll be able to add these things for us as well, so we can talk back and forth. It'll be shareable. Scroll. And the last thing we have is our PE waiver, right? If a student has 2 years of a sport, they don't have to do PE. So that's a ton of information, right? And it's gonna be ongoing typed into. Now show them the piece you had. This is what the final product looks like. So we're gonna take that whole spreadsheet and go ahead and scroll down a little bit or make it smaller. And it's gonna have Philly stuff on it. This is a sample of some other district they've done. Freeze. Look at this. All of this is gonna be populated by that spreadsheet. Every student, we could print this out in 1 second if we want to. Our end of course exams, our ACT scores, the requirements we have for our credits, right? And at New Philly, 4 social studies, 4 science, 4 math, 4 health, or 4 ELA. There's our competencies down here, our web exams. Competency 1, we're gonna have all these check marks, greens, reds. It's gonna tell us year to year where our students are. Keep going. Stop, freeze. There's our seals. So every time a kid gets a seal, we're gonna click it, just simply click, it's really that simple. Clicking yes on that spreadsheet, it's gonna update this. So every year we can print this sheet out and have something to go over with the student and show the student, and the students will have access to this. So this is their plan, print it out easily. Can you bring up number 3? Also from that data, this can be generated. And this is just a simple click at the bottom. From all that data, it's gonna bring up a risk assessment for a student. So we can start tracking students. That's the thing you don't get when you've got a binder, right, or papers. Just this quick check on a student is gonna allow Mr. Range, Mr. Jarvis, our counselors, to be able to keep track of kids more easily, starting in 7th or 8th grade, because some of our students start taking high school courses in 7th and 8th grade. And so these can start as early as that. Kids can start taking college classes, CC plus in 7th or 8th grade. But this can be developed. And then we can put notes with what supportive services are we doing. Albert will participate in the after-school tutoring program, right? Mr. Range is working with Mr. Jarvis on different supportive services we can do for these kids. And you can see a parent guardian notification. These are all just little boxes that our guidance and our principals will check in a spreadsheet that'll generate this amazing thing. And then go ahead and put, is this it, right? That was the one. So those are just some of the awesome pieces to, and our SEALs plan. So getting the SEALs, I think they have to get 12 SEALs to graduate. This is gonna keep track of all these different SEALs. It's got the description of what it is, whether they've earned it, and this is all generated by that spreadsheet. Once again, generate, spreadsheet pops open. I think this is really gonna revolutionize the way we're attacking our graduation. Still have other things we'll need to do, but just putting it in this format, having it all in one place is gonna be huge. So we wanted just to present this to you because last time we talked about the report card, a lot of you asked, how soon can we make an impact on this thing? How quickly can we go from 1 star to 2 to 3? We're making strides, and I wanted to show you what our high school has been really doing. So that's it.
Kudos to Mr. Range, who really took it upon himself to dive into this and found this program, which you may have got just a glimpse by looking at it, how many different options there are for students to meet graduation requirements, and how much easier it will be for us to intervene and help guide students in the right direction when we can take a quick look and say, hey, you're really close here, you're really far away here, let's concentrate where you're close and help get you over that hump. And this is a relatively affordable option for us to be able to organize this and to really keep track of that. So really want to give him credit. Also, while we're talking about graduation rate, I just want to take a minute and remind everybody that the report card graduation rate is a year behind every other score on the report card. So next year's report card will not reflect all of this work. It will be from 2023 that's already graduated. So we will have to wait almost 2 years before we see the impact of the work that he's doing. But that doesn't mean it's not coming.
We'll kind of know. I mean, we don't have to wait till the state tells us. We're gonna know that it's gonna be a 2 or let's hope a 5, just from what we see.
We'll have a pretty good idea.
If we have 227 seniors and 89 of them aren't gonna graduate, we know we're in trouble.
Yeah, and one reason it's delayed by a year is because they take students who meet graduation requirements over the summer after the fact as well, are included as graduates for that year. So, but yes, we'll have a good idea.
And Jeff, is this material gonna be provided to parents, or they're aware of whether?
100%.
Okay, yeah, it's not gonna be just, it's there if they wanna look it up, it's gonna be actually gotten to them.
A regular communication, they haven't decided like how often, but
Okay, great.
I think like in every 9 weeks type of thing even, just to make sure that the parents are aware of this, meetings with the students. And
Fabulous.
like I said, and I want to emphasize too, Mr. Neff has really done a great job of connecting with Mr. Range. And, we want to start identifying what kids are into in the 6th grade, right? There's some kids that we know in the 6th, 7th, 8th grade aren't going to go to college, right? They're going to Buckeye or they're going to something else. So we can start building our portrait of a graduate even earlier. And Mr. Neff has really embraced that by making some connections with middle school kids to high school kids and different programs. So we've got middle school kids going up to high school science club. I think them working together all these years, Mr. Range and Mr. Neff and their relationship, they're taking full advantage of the fact that our high school, middle school is in one building. And even though there's doors between them, they're opening those doors to try to kind of get things started even in middle school. So I gotta give Mr. Neff some credit too for putting in that effort to connect him. Yeah, parent communication with this is huge. And it'll be nice because we just literally can print this out in 1 second once that data.
This is software that we're buying that's
It's just all it is an Excel spreadsheet that these 2 former principals that now work at ESC, they developed the formula to do, I don't know how it is, I've never known that, but the formula calculates all this and makes this. And they're giving it to us extremely inexpensive because they care so much about graduation and with us, so.
So I do have just a couple questions about how we use it. So obviously garbage in, garbage out as far as keeping the data updated. Somebody's got to make sure that accurate data is being put in. Who will own looking at them to identify, because I guess what I'm picturing progress-wise is if we were working off of 4 binders, we might have had some folks that just, we weren't aware enough to be able to chart a course for them because they were buried in a binder somewhere.
Yep.
Just practical standpoint. So if we have that visibility, who owns the identification? Because I guess my concern would be kids that might not graduate, might get a form sent home that nobody sees, nobody looks at, nobody does anything with. Who kind of raises the flag within the high school to say, you know, we need to talk with this student, or we need to make sure, like, does that fall under the guidance counselors? Does that fall under Mr. Ray? Is that all to be determined yet? Or just curious what we're envisioning?
Well, it is primarily would fall under the counselors.
Okay.
Responsibilities. However, I can tell you that Mr. Range has made this his personal responsibility and has committed to overseeing every
Okay.
aspect of it. And he has really dived in.
We have multiple people, I guess,
Yes.
trying to
Yes.
identify and, okay, great, okay.
And our
It's a great tool.
attendance officer, Mrs. Shimko, has really jumped into this. I mean, obviously attendance are key, but a lot of reasons we don't graduate kids is due to attendance. So, and she's a former intervention specialist, so she just has a love for getting, and that's one of the areas we need to improve on, is getting our special education students across that goal line. So Mrs. Shimko is also going to have access to this and be a huge part of running, you know, these programs and helping kids. And so it's a team effort. Yeah.
When do you anticipate implementing this? Is it already in the works?
So we're sending the data to the 2 former principals that work for the ESC. I think she said they'll have juniors and sophomores and freshmen uploaded by February. And then what they'll do is a training for us, myself, I'm gonna jump in, and then the 5 we just talked about, the guidance counselors. Mrs. Ames is also gonna join it from the middle school. Mr. Jarvis, Mr. Range, Mrs. Shimko, Mrs. Briggs, and Mrs. Swinderman. And we're gonna go through the training to kind of learn, make sure we're up to date of how to do this, enter data, and then they turn us loose. So next year we'll be able to start.
That's cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Need to approve the financials for QDA, QPA. If I can have a motion to approve those.
So moved.
A second?
I'll second it.
Valentine? Any questions or anything about those? Call the roll?
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. Galantine?
Yes.
Mr. McMath?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Superintendent's report.
I have several items I'm going to ask you to approve here tonight, starting with the non-routine field trip, Delphi and Corral going to Cleveland. The nutrition standards compliance report, which is an annual report that is due, is available in your folder. Ask you to approve the graduation of Kayla Howard. She is a 22-plus program graduate who has now met the requirements for a diploma. Approve the agreement with Sandy Valley Local School District for their 2 students to practice with and be transported with our swim team, which is something that we did last year as well. Approve the non-routine field trip for the speech and debate team to go to Beaver Creek, Ohio for a 2-day speech and debate tournament. And then there are a multitude of policies which the policy committee has met and discussed and is submitting for some updates and your approval, first reading. If I could have a motion, then I can answer any questions.
So moved.
Give it to Chris. Go to Chris.
Mr. Weaver, 1, Mr. Galantine, 2.
Are there any questions or discussion?
Hearing none, call the roll.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mr. Galantine?
Yes.
Mr. France?
Yes.
Mr. McMath?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Dr. Fuller's not here, so can I have a motion to adjourn? France?
Absolutely.
Second.
Out of respect for my esteemed colleague, Dr. Fuller, I move to adjourn.
Police officer.
And I will second that.
Police officer.
Good. Thank you so much, everyone.